All right. Hello, once again, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us on tonight's session about unlocking your retirement funds to own investment property in Belize. This is a topic that we have gotten many requests for. People are looking at investing here in Belize. They see that this country is on an incredible path of progress, but they may not necessarily want to dip into their savings or other funds, but they look at their retirement funds and say, if I could do something with this in Belize, it could do really, really well. Well, great news for you is that it is legal and possible to use your retirement funds to invest in real estate in Belize. In fact, it's a very popular method for folks to be investing in the country here, and we're going to be jumping into the details with you. So quickly, I just want to mention that the session will be about 45 minutes to an hour, and we have 3 different segments that we're going to be covering. The first one, of course, is the one that we're all on for tonight, which is using your self-directed IRA to own property in Belize. The second is there's a property highlight that I really would love to share with you. I'm excited to share with you that I think would be an incredible opportunity to use your self-directed IRA. And then, as mentioned, we're going to go through the questions and answers at the end. So again, about 45 minutes to an hour. We are recording this, so you'll all get a copy of the recording afterwards. It also will go up on YouTube, so you'll be able to have access to it later on. But as a quick hello, my name is Rachel Jensen. I'm the broker owner of Luna Realty Belize. Belize has been my home for the last 12 years. I'm originally from New York and made my way down here to Latin America. Initially, when I was working with a real estate developer, was with them for about a decade. And then a couple of years ago, decided to branch off and start my own real estate company. We've seen incredible opportunities here, and the country, specifically Ambergris Caye, has been on this incredible path of progress over the last decade for sure. I would say over the last couple of years, more than before, is we've gotten more people coming down to Belize. And so we wanted to be able to help as many folks as possible find that dream property here. And you're all on to learn about how you can use your self-directed IRA to do that. But first, I wanted to introduce Sarah Jung. Sarah and I met about a year ago, I would say. And Sarah is a developer here on the island. Sarah, I'm going to invite you to say a couple words about yourself and how it is that you chose Belize to invest yourself.
Yeah, thanks, Rachel, for the introduction, and thanks for having us here on this webinar. So I cannot tell you how excited that we're investing in Belize. So my husband and I actually are developers, and we went down to Belize a couple of years ago, and we fell in love with the country and the culture, and it's in the Caribbean, it's beautiful, the weather was perfect, and what we realized was the just incredible real estate opportunities that were down in Belize. And if any of you are familiar with the history of Cancun or Cabo or Costa Rica in the last 10, 20, 30 years, I missed the boat on that. So I decided that I'm not going to miss the boat on Belize. And so my husband and I decided to start buying property in Belize. And so we bought a number of properties down there already. And we met Rachel and just learned about all of the opportunity down there, which is just tremendous. So really excited to share it with you. And one of the things I did want to share was Scott Moyer here that's going to be doing our presentation. Scott and I have worked together for a while, and we've actually worked with a number of clients together. And so I'm really excited to have him explain how to purchase real estate, especially real estate in Belize, international real estate, with your IRAs. I've actually personally bought property with my IRAs and 401ks. I have multiple properties in them with using that type of funding. And I can tell you it's a very straightforward process. It's something that I did not realize that you could do in the past. And so it really opened up a lot of doors for me as an investor, whereas before I thought I was locked out of different investment opportunities, and it really opened that up for me. So really excited to be able to share what Scott's going to have to say today.
All right, great. Well, Sarah, Rachel, I appreciate you all having me on. And if, Rachel, you may go ahead and grab the controls here. I'll get us going and talk about the IRA side of things. Let's see, there we go. So yeah, and Rachel, you mentioned already one of the biggest points that I'll hit during our time tonight is that most people, the reason why using your IRA or using your old 401k to invest in real estate is becoming so popular is because a lot of people don't want to touch their personal savings accounts that they have. They may have a rainy day fund if they have a job loss or emergency, medical type emergency. That money they want to have there ready for those types of life events. But their retirement account is really far from their mind of things that they would even touch in the event of emergency. That money is for when they retire or later on in life, and therefore becomes a great source of capital to use for these types of investments, which are longer holds. It's a longer play. You're making an investment into real estate. You don't need something that's to be liquidated really quickly. And so that's one reason why a lot of people like the idea of using their IRA, using their 401k to make these types of investments into real estate. So the presentation today I'm going to go through is a little quick. Then sometimes we go a little bit more in depth on some of the topics, but really wanted to give the viewers and the listeners side just a really good overview. But everybody's situation is unique, is different, whether it's the type of an account you have, the investments that you're looking to make, and how you want to structure it. And that's where I'd invite you just to give me a call, shoot me an email, so we can discuss what you, or maybe you and your spouse, or you and some friends want to do with your IRA accounts. But just a little quick background on myself. I've been in the IRA business since 2006. I knew very little about self-directed IRAs and using retirement accounts to invest in these alternative assets when I started, and really just kind of immersed myself at that time, along with our owner at the time, following him around, listening to presentations like this one tonight, and just have worked with a number of great people over the years, Sarah and her husband included, and a lot of the people that they have worked with, helping people find alternatives within their retirement accounts. So my contact information is here. I think we'll have it up again a little bit later. Just a quick background, our company, we are a self-directed IRA administrator. I'll talk a little bit more about what self-directed means in just a minute. We have over $2 billion in assets under management. We have a real personal style of account manager, concierge level service that we give to our clients who are looking to invest their IRA into real estate and other types of alternative assets. One of the common questions we get, though, from people when we start talking about what we do is really, what is a self-directed IRA? They may be familiar with traditional IRAs or rollover IRAs or Roth IRAs or 401ks, but they never heard of a self-directed account. They don't understand what type of IRA that means or what that is. Now, the important thing to note is self-directed really is more of a marketing term that refers to what you're able to do with the funds that are in your IRA accounts. As you'll see on a slide in a moment, self-directed IRAs are still traditional IRAs. They're still Roth IRAs, the different tax status that those accounts denote. But what's different is that a self-directed IRA allows you as the account owner to choose the type of asset that you want to invest in. It's not choosing from a variety of mutual funds or stocks. It's investing in actual asset classes that you want to control. And for the most part, our clients, probably 70 to 75% of the assets that we hold for our clients' accounts are real estate in nature, whether it's raw land, rental properties, multifamily, doing private lending, a lot of different things that you can do inside your IRA account. And the common thread is that these assets are all outside of the stock market. And that's one of the motivating factors that people look to use their IRA, not only because it's a different source of capital, as we already talked about, but it also gets some of that money outside of the stock market, and kind of the whole proverbial don't put your eggs all in one basket. This allows you to do that and actually have your funds, some funds in real estate, maybe have some funds in the market if you so desire. So again, when it comes to real estate, a lot of different types of assets may qualify. The common thread with these they are investment properties. This has to be, you're looking to use your IRA to buy real estate. It does have to be for investment purposes. Again, whether it's a single family home, a condo, mobile homes, etc. Again, these are all investments that are available to you inside of your IRA account. And you probably haven't heard about these before, because if you have an IRA, or if you have an old 401k with a Schwab or with a Fidelity, they are not going to tell you that you could invest in these types of assets. And the reason why is because they won't hold these inside of your IRA. IRS regulations allow you to invest in a lot of different types of assets, including real estate, but you have to have a custodian who's willing to hold those. And so Fidelity and Schwab have made business decisions not to hold these assets. And we made the decision that these are exactly the types of assets that we're going to hold and allow people to invest in using the tax protected dollars in their retirement account. So it's important to note, as we talk about self-directed IRAs, this involves you not pulling money out of your accounts and paying taxes on it, but rather moving the money from, say, a brokerage IRA or an old 401k into a type of IRA that will allow you to make this investment while preserving the tax status of your IRA and of your account. As we already mentioned, why do people use retirement funds as a source for real estate? Again, maybe people are not expecting to use their funds soon. So if you're putting money into an investment that's 5 or 10 years down the road, you may want to use your IRA account, which is, again, most people look at as not something they want to touch for the next 10, 15, maybe even 20 years beyond that. So that personal savings account, as we talked about, they want to keep that liquid for emergencies. For some clients, it's just a different source of capital. So if you're listening to the presentation tonight and you already invest in real estate, you're already looking to invest in Belize, you can simply use your IRA rather than use your savings account or use other sources of funds. So people may look to get a home equity line and use that to fund an investment. Well, you don't have to do that if you have money in an IRA or in an old 401k. You can potentially earn better returns or more consistent, stable returns rather than having your money in a stock market investments. And there's no outside approval needed. So there is no going to a bank to get approval for a loan. This is simply if you have money in an IRA or you have it in a 401k, making that decision to make this investment and then just filling out the paperwork and following all the steps that we would help you out with to do that. So what accounts can be self-directed? Now, I'm not going to go into the details of all of these accounts. That's a whole nother webinar that you can call me and get that information. But if you have any type of IRA, you have a traditional, you have a Roth, maybe you're self-employed and have a SEP or a simple, those accounts certainly qualify. If you are self-employed, you may have a solo 401k, that'll work too. And more importantly, I think the bigger bag of funds and money that people forget about or forget that they can use are former employers' plans. So if you worked for a company, you worked for the school district, you worked for the government, and you have an old 401k or 403b account, those former employer plans can also be rolled over into a self-directed IRA and then in turn to use to invest in real estate. So a lot of people leave an employer for a variety of reasons, but they forget about that 401k that they still have there. That money can be used as well. About the only accounts that have some restrictions on it are current employer plans. If you do work for an employer, you may be restricted from moving some of that money while you are still employed there. But that's, again, a great reason to give me a call and we can go over what type of an account you have and exactly what the method and of how moving those funds and how you'd be able to use them. And so that's kind of leads into my next slide is you have an IRA, you have an old 401k, how do you move it? How do you get that into an account where you're positioned to buy real estate? It's either doing a transfer or doing a direct rollover. Those are industry specific terms. But both of them, it just means you're moving money from one retirement account to another. The money is not touching your hands. Therefore, it's a non-taxable event. So the money is going directly from your other custodian into the self-directed custodian. Again, via a transfer if it's IRA to IRA, or via direct rollover if it's from that old 401k going into an IRA. Again, the process can take a couple days, could take up to a few weeks, depending on what type of an account you have and depending on your other custodian. But this is the important thing to note because I'll have many clients who go talk to their advisor and say, I talked to my advisor about using my IRA funds to buy real estate. And they said, well, if you do that, you're going to face taxes and you're going to face penalties for pulling money out of the account. And this is the reason why they're wrong. And sometimes they're just misinformed. They're not lying intentionally. They just don't know that what you're looking to do is use those funds to invest in assets that they can't hold. And when you do that, again, you're moving money from the brokerage account and from the IRA there to another IRA with another firm. And again, that is a non-taxable event. You could move money from Fidelity to Schwab tomorrow, and again, it would be not taxable. The only thing different is you're moving it to a company, in our case, our Advanta IRA, which is our firm, moving it to us so that you can then in turn use that cash to buy real estate. So again, moving money from your existing retirement account will not be taxable regardless of what maybe some people tell you or what, again, they don't realize necessarily what it is that you're looking to do. Just very quickly, the rules for self-directing, if you have money in an IRA or a 401k, there are some limitations on what you can or can't do. Very quickly, the only investments you cannot purchase within an IRA, you cannot purchase life insurance, and you cannot purchase collectibles. So when you look through the IRS code of all the permissible investments, you're actually not going to find that list because the IRS simply says you cannot buy life insurance and you cannot buy collectibles. It does not say that you can buy stock, that you can buy real estate, that you can buy mutual funds. Simply says no life insurance, no collectibles. And then the other restriction is you cannot, any disqualified person cannot transact with your IRA, nor can any disqualified person receive a benefit from the assets in the plan. So when we talk about real estate, obviously that's the focus of tonight's presentation. You cannot use your IRA to buy a vacation home. You can't use it to buy, can't buy it for personal use. If you own real estate already, you can't sell it to your IRA or vice versa. So there are some restrictions. We refer to those kind of as self-dealing rules when it comes to who you are transacting with. And the disqualified persons for your IRA include yourself and your spouse, your parents and grandparents, your kids and grandkids, as well as any entity that is owned or controlled by one of those peoples as well. So again, when we're talking real estate in your IRA, it's got to be for investment, not for personal use, not for use by any of the disqualified persons on this particular chart. But if you're looking to buy real estate because you want to, maybe you found a piece of land at a really great price and you want to hold it, thinking, yeah, I might be able to sell it in 3 to 4 years and make a nice profit, that certainly works. If you're buying a property that you can then buy the property in the IRA and rent it out to another party and have the rental income come back into your IRA, that is perfectly legal to do. It's just no personal use or no use by any of the disqualified persons on the screen. So I include this slide from time to time in my presentations. I think it's important for people who are investing into real estate or looking to invest in real estate is what type of investor are you? Or maybe what type of an investor do you want to be? Are you somebody who wants to be more active, be more involved, right? You want to make decisions, you want to have control. Those rentals and rehab type projects might be more up your alley, where you're going to have control, you're going to be making those decisions, but it is going to eat up a little bit of your time, a little bit of your energy, and you ultimately are going to be responsible for the details. There's also people, though, who might tend to want to be more passive in their real estate investing, where they might be investing in a syndication, a private lending opportunity, where maybe there's some initial time up front in evaluating the investment, but once you make it, you sit back and just get your check each month or each quarter. One of our clients, and I know people refer to it as mailbox money. You're invested in a passive investment where once a month you go to your mailbox, and the check is there. In this instance, the check is going to your IRA, not you personally, but the same principle applies. But in those investments, you're not as much in control. You're leaving those decisions every day up to other people, and you're just a passive investor. So there is no right or wrong answer to this slide. And in fact, we have clients who do both active and passive investments within their IRA. But I think it's just a good exercise to have mentally for people who are looking at getting involved. I did want to just go through a couple of case studies, though, because I'm sure some people listening say, hey, this sounds really good. I can use my IRA to make an investment, so the cash in my IRA is available. You've told me already that I can move this money into an account and not pay any taxes and then be able to buy the real estate. But exactly how does it work? And that's what I like to cover in a couple of the case studies, just to go over some of the nuances and a little bit on the procedure for buying property inside of an IRA account. In our first case study, we have John looking at buying a property, maybe down the street, maybe it's in his neighborhood or an area he's familiar with. And he's got $250,000 in an old 401k, but the property he's looking at buying $150,000 to close, maybe have some cash in there to get the property fixed up and become a full-time rental. So he's looking at buying this property as a cash producing or an income producing property inside of his IRA account. So for John, his steps would involve opening up an account. So he's going to fill out paperwork with us to open up a self-directed IRA. Just like opening up a bank account, we're collecting some personal information, designating beneficiaries, etc. Once his account is opened with us, he will request that direct rollover from his old 401k. So he'll reach out to his administrator, have them send us a check for the rollover from that 401k. And then ultimately, John, again, is going to find the investment property. He's going to tell us what property he's going to buy. So at Advanta, we don't go out and find the properties for you. We're not going to suggest investments. It's what you bring to us. So John goes out and finds the property. He wants to make an offer to purchase, and he's going to notify us of what he's looking to buy. So he says, hey, I found this property down the street. Here's the contract. Here's the contract price. Our job at Advanta is to make sure that this investment is properly titled in the name of his IRA account. That's one of the key things that keeps the IRA tax protected, is making sure that the investment is properly titled in the IRA. And we also are going to make sure John reviews and approves all of the closing documents. So ultimately, we do sign the documents on behalf of the IRA. We do wire the money out of his account, but John has to review and approve everything for us first. So John, again, he opens up the account. He directs the rollover from the old 401k. That cash gets sent to us for deposit into his account. And then we work with him on the closing to make sure the documents are titled properly, at which point we wire money out of the account and sign all those documents on behalf of the IRA. So John's account with us had $250,000 in cash. Now it's got maybe $100,000 in cash, and it's got a $150,000 piece of real estate. So when he looks at his account statement, he sees cash, and he sees the property that he purchased. Again, the property is purchased in the name of the IRA. It is possible to partner with other people. In this instance, John is buying it for all cash from his IRA, but it would be possible if John had a spouse or John had friends, they could pool some of their funds together and make that purchase as tenants in common. When you own real estate, this is an important slide to note that the bills, any expense from that property must be paid by the IRA account. So you'll want to make sure that if you're buying property that you have extra cash in your account to pay those bills as they come up. That is the service that we provide at Advanta. You send us the bill, we get the check cut out of your account to pay the bill. If there's any managing of the property and management, again, no IRA owner, no disqualified person can perform those services. So you would need to hire somebody else out to do that particular work. Getting back to that slide we talked about with the disqualified persons, no disqualified person can provide any kind of service in that sense to the property. But other than that, there's no restriction on who can do the work, just that the IRA then has to pay that party for that. And then the best part everybody loves, the cash flow from the real estate comes back into the IRA account. So the IRA owner can be selecting and qualifying their tenant. When the tenant makes a rent check each month or sends their rent in, they will send it back to your IRA. And that's how you now are growing your account. So if you invested in a stock or you invested in a mutual fund, you may be getting a dividend back into the IRA. When you own real estate in your IRA, your dividend is that rental income, or is the income that you're getting from that particular asset. So that's the important part that we handle at Advanta. Again, we help you buy the property, the rent's coming in, we deposit those checks, we pay the bills at your direction, and the net at the end of the month is what's coming back into your IRA and helping grow your retirement account. So in this example, just the numbers aren't terribly important, but the net rents come back into the IRA, no tax consequence to John whatsoever. If he sells the property and makes a profits back into the IRA, no tax consequence to John. And again, we manage that process as the IRA administrator, but John is still directing us for the activity. That's why we call it a self-directed IRA, because John, as the account owner, is telling us exactly what he wants to invest in, what he wants to do with the property. If he wanted to hold this property indefinitely and just continue to accrue rent, that's absolutely fine. Or he could sell the property at any point as well. The other quick case study to go to, and I know a lot of you will hear about the opportunities in Belize as well, so we'll get to that, investing there. But the last example, investing in raw land. So it is not required by the IRS rules that you invest in a property that produces consistent income, right? You can buy an asset and hold it. There are people who buy stocks and hold them for years with never receiving a dividend. You're just waiting for the right time to sell it. So this principle involved here is really no different. You're just, instead of investing in a stock for a long-term hold, maybe you're investing in a piece of raw land. So in this particular deal, Jane has money in an IRA account at Vanguard, and she finds a vacant lot for sale. Not really sure maybe what she wants to do with it yet, but she knows that this is a good price in a good location. The value of the property is going to go up, so either she can hold it, sell it at a later date for profit, or maybe she could develop it herself and actually put a structure on the property and turn it into a rental unit. Again, up to Jane to inspect the property. She talks to the seller to negotiate the terms of purchase. And again, with Advanta, she's going to open her steps involved with doing this through her IRA are the same as John's in the last example. Opening up the account, filling out our paperwork, transferring cash from her Vanguard IRA over into Advana. Again, a non-taxable event. Money's going from IRA to IRA. No issues at all with taxes or penalties. We will submit that paperwork on her behalf to get the money moved over and notify her when the funds arrive. And just as we did in the last scenario, we are going to work with Jane. We're going to work with the other parties to make sure that all of the closing documents, all the contracts get purchased, all of it reflects the name of her IRA as the actual owner. It's important to note your IRA account is a separate legal entity from yourself. So that IRA has to be reflected on all the closing documents. Again, ultimately, we sign the documents, we wire funds to the closing, and going forward, any expenses, if there's any upkeep, the property taxes, etc., those would need to be paid from the IRA. If she wants to build a rental property, she can use cash in her IRA to build a structure on the property as well. And the rental income, just as we saw in the first example, that rental income back to the IRA. So it's really, again, up to Jane at this point to decide, am I holding this land? Am I selling it for a profit? Am I developing it? Those decisions are all in her hands, and we simply act at her direction. Again, with a self-directed IRA, we are not advisors, so we're not going to tell Jane what she should or shouldn't do. She tells us what it is that she wants to do with her retirement account. One note, again, as we're talking a little bit about Belize tonight as well, how buying foreign real estate in an IRA, just some special considerations, special things to think about. One that we've encountered a couple times is that some countries do permit the IRA to be the direct owner. So again, in those last examples, the deed to the property is issued directly to the IRA account, and that's fine. That's how we do a lot of our purchases, obviously, in the United States. Some countries, though, require that real estate owned in that particular country be owned by either a citizen of that country or an entity, like a corporation or an LLC, that is domiciled in that particular country as well. So if you run into that scenario, like, well, that's not good, my IRA can't be the direct owner, your workaround is simply to have your IRA form a corporation or an LLC in that particular country, have you as the IRA owner act as the manager of that entity, and fund the purchase through that particular structure. That's a structure we call checkbook control for the IRA, where you set up this corporation, you set up the LLC, and maybe in the last example, instead of having Jane's IRA fund a closing, Jane's IRA funds cash into the bank account for the corporation or LLC. And then Jane is the manager of that entity, buys the asset in the LLC, and has all the cash flow going in and out of that particular LLC bank account. So there is a mechanism and a way to, if you have that scenario where you're looking to buy property overseas, using an entity like a corporation or an LLC, where that company or where that country is, where that property is located, the country there. We've had a number of clients do that over the years. It makes it, and sometimes it just makes it easier as well, even if a company or a country doesn't require it. Having that domestic corporation, having that domestic LLC just makes it a little bit easier to manage overall. So again, if it's property overseas, if it's property in the US, whatever, it doesn't matter. There's no restriction from the IRS where that property is located. It's simply just knowing the laws of that particular country on how to title those particular assets. So again, it's an easy process to start. It's opening up an account, just filling out our paperwork takes just a couple of minutes to get the IRA established. Doing a transfer or rollover from another account, again, a few days to a few weeks, depending on that your other custodian, and then start investing. You tell us what it is that you want to invest in, and we will work with you to get that investment titled properly, work with the other parties, and then take care of all of the administrative paperwork going forward. So again, that's kind of a short and quick overview. If you have questions, I'll look forward to the questions at the end of the presentation tonight. If you want to discuss your situation, though, privately, certainly reach out to me at the number here or at my email. I'll be happy to set up a time to speak.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Scott. I always love listening to those too, because I always feel like I'm picking up more tidbits of information. So hopefully everybody listening captured some good information. We are going to be doing questions in about 5-10 minutes after these next couple of slides here. So if you do have any questions for Scott, feel free to type that into the Q&A section of the control panel, and we can have him answer. I know, Scott, that I will probably be asking a couple of questions as well to you, sure. So we'll stay tuned for those. And then also, folks, there you see Scott's contact information, the 1-800 number, and then his email address, and also their company website. So you can always feel free to message him directly. And I agree with you, Scott, that this was really like an overview, everyone. And there is more information, of course, depending on your certain situation. So you want to make sure that you reach out to Scott to talk about yours specifically. So we're going to jump over to Belize. I know all of you, I'm guessing, are looking at property in Belize, which is why you received this and why you're on this session here and received this invitation. But just to give you all a quick update about where the country is, a little bit more about why people are investing here. Belize is about the size of Massachusetts, population-wise, about 400,000 people. And the reasons that you see here on the screen are the top reasons why we're seeing clients are deciding to invest in Belize. So the first is English speaking. And this is a huge, huge reason why people are choosing Belize over countries like Mexico or Costa Rica or Panama, because you can actually understand what people are saying. And also you are able to understand the agreements and the offer to purchases because it's all done in English. In addition to that, British common law is what is used here, which is very familiar to folks in North America, unless Louisiana, but everywhere else they're under common law. So it's a very common system that you're familiar with. In addition to that, foreigners receive title. This is something that I did want to highlight because you are able to get title to your property. So I know in coastal parts of Mexico, you're not able, it's a lease essentially that you have on the land, but here you do get title to it, it's yours. And then a couple of attractive tax incentives and advantages that are worth noting is there's very low property tax. Some lots that we're going to talk about, you can expect your property tax to be no more than $100 per year, which is very, very, very great savings, especially if you're comparing that to what people are paying in the States. In addition to that, there are zero capital gains in Belize, but then also the nice advantage is if you're owning the property through your self-directed IRA, then you have that incentive from the United States as well, because United States typically will tax you on any profit that you're making. You have to report all your taxes. So if you're able to do it through your self-directed IRA, you just have that benefit there of that capital gains as well in your IRA. And then in addition to that, there's a very low rental income tax. So let's say you decide that you want to build a rental property and then you have the rental income coming in Belize is a very low 1.75% rental income tax. So those are just some big reasons why people are deciding to invest in Belize. And now I would say over the last 2 to 3 years, there have been so many more eyes on Belize. I mentioned to you, I've been down here for the last 12 years. Over the last 2-3 years, we've seen more direct flights coming in, which has opened the market to the Northeast. We now have direct flights from Baltimore, also direct flights from JFK, which is just increasing the number of people coming in. I've also heard a rumor that we are looking at a direct flight from France coming up soon. So if you can just imagine what that's going to be doing to the market here, where right now we do not have any flights coming in from Europe. So that's just another reason for you to get in ahead of the curve before that opens up to Europe. So I did want to give you a quick property highlight, located about 8.5 miles north. It's Platinum Point subdivision. I think personally, it's a perfect opportunity for somebody who's looking to get their foot in the door here in Belize on Ambergris Caye. Over the last 2-3 years, as we've seen more eyeballs on the country, we've also seen increase in prices. There are a lot of people who come who realize that it's a great place to be, who just fall in love with the island. It's how many of us end up here. You know, we come down for that first trip and then just don't leave. And we're continuing to see it over and over. And so people are like, I want to somehow get involved and invest in the country. And so it's just, this subdivision, I think, is one of the easiest ways to do it, especially if you are looking at using your self-directed IRA. And Sarah, I'm going to put you on the spot here for a second, because you are sitting in the seat of a lot of the folks who are on the session today, where you have now invested in Belize, you have multiple properties in Belize, but what encouraged you to choose this location for your subdivision at 8.5 miles north?
Yeah, so if I can leave with our listeners with anything to remember today, it's going to be these words, and it's going to be path of progress. So the whole point that, we invest in real estate, we buy property, is, we look at the path of progress and where things are going. And one of my favorite sayings by Wayne Gretzky is, it's, I skate to where the puck is going to be, not where it's been. I know it's cliche, but it's one of my favorite sayings, because one of the reasons that we had looked at Belize was we looked at the path of progress. And, again, as I said before, I missed the mark in Cancun, Cabo, Costa Rica. Everybody, 10, 20, 30 years ago, they all made their money there. And I never had the opportunity. I didn't even know about the opportunity back then. So when we looked at Belize, we're like, okay, this is the next opportunity. This is the path of progress in the Caribbean. Then when we broke it down even further, we went to Ambergris Caye, which is the top tourist destination, also one of the top destinations for retirees. And then we looked at the island itself and we looked at, okay, where's the path of progress? Well, if you look at the island, South Ambergris Caye is pretty much it's very crowded. You have San Pedro town. It's basically bursting at the seams. So then we look north and we look at, okay, there's other areas like Secret Beach that have been developed. There's thousands of lots there. We look north of that and it's like, okay, well, there's all this open space still where there's development that's moving towards. So again, path of progress, we looked at there's an opportunity for us that we got a killer deal on land. Again, we, land banked it for a couple of years and then now we subdivided it and now we're selling the lots. So again, these lots are very inexpensive. It's a great way to get your foot in the door. And whether you fund it through cash or a self-directed IRA that Scott talked about, it's just a great way to get your foot in the door and have a piece of that beautiful Caribbean that you can own, buy and hold, or build a house on it one day. So anyhow, so that's kind of our thoughts as far as why we bought the property. And we want to make it a unique subdivision where people can go buy and hold and be able to build their dream vacation place or their retirement house that they want to live in, really just have it, or just as an investment and make easily twice, 3 times, 4 times their money, just as a land banking opportunity. So I'm very excited about it. So go ahead, Rachel, and if you want to share any other details about it, that'd be great.
I think that was perfect. So I do have a couple more slides that I want to share because I really do want to highlight this property here at Platinum Point, because I know when people are looking for the entry price property, there's really only one other subdivision on the island that's under 50,000, and that's the Secret Beach area. But just as you mentioned, Sarah, there's thousands of lots there. There are no utilities there. And so people who are owning there, I'd say, are doing it more from the perspective of they personally like it. But if you're somebody who's thinking for the long term, right, or thinking to land bank, like you said, and you just have to wait a few years, not even, I would say, until you're able to flip it and make a nice profit for it. Because exactly as you said, Sarah, the path of progress is happening northward. I know in this area, in the Ambergris Caye Lagoon area, there are 3 new subdivisions or 3 new properties, high-end luxury developments that have gotten approved. I can't tell you any more details about them, but I know that they've gotten approved and people will start to see marketing and advertising for it shortly. So, now is really the time. And as somebody who personally lives on the island, I can tell you every other day, my partner and I are like, let's just keep going further north to get out of the traffic, to get away from the trucks, to get away from all the people, because that's just what's happening, is that the path of progress is happening in a northward direction. So the Platinum Point subdivision, just to give you some aerial scope of where it is, we're only located about 1,000 feet from the Caribbean. And if you can follow my cursor here, you can just come right down, and then there's beach access down this way right over here. So it takes 2-3 minutes to get to the Caribbean Sea. Lagoon side is over here. And this area is actually the area that has been allocated as the next town. And like we talked about, San Pedro town is busy. There are a lot of people, and there's been just a lot of growth happening on the island, and the island and the government here has realized that. So they've allocated land in this northward area. And you can see just the little text there on the left-hand side that there's the police station that's already here. There's allocated land for a school, a hospital. So there's a lot that's happening in this area over here. It's about 8.5 miles north. So I'd say it's about a 35-minute golf cart ride from the heart of town. But we are seeing that roads are continuing to get graded and paved. And this is certainly in the path of progress. And I know we've been saying that a lot, but Sarah, you're just exactly spot on with this location here, and very wise of you to be picking up the property here. So I just wanted to mention to you that at this point, we have 8 lots within phase 1 that are currently released. 3 of those have sold at this point, but I did just want to point out to you the affordability of them starting at under 50,000. If you are able to use your self-directed IRA, if you want to, you're able to pay cash, of course, so we can talk about that. But the one thing I do want to note, because I know a lot of you have been looking at property here in Ambergris Caye, is that Sarah, as the developer, is also willing to clear and fill the property, and that she has a special rate for that. If you did want to finance, you're able to do that outside of your self-directed IRA, but if you did want to finance it, She can also finance the fill and clearing for you as well. That's only within phase one. So just reach out to us.
Yes, and Rachel, just to add, we are offering seller financing if the self-directed IRA is not an option and they have some cash they want to put down. We have introductory terms on the seller financing as well.
Perfect. Yes. And I know, guys, that we just said we're going to do a little quick teaser here. So reach out. This is a great area for this sort of concept if you are looking to either build a home there at some point, or if you are perhaps thinking about a rental property. It's still lush there and greenery around, so could be great for you to consider those sort of options if you're looking at property. All right, so that was a quick teaser. If anyone wants more information about Platinum Point, just feel free to reach out to us, info@lunarealtybelize.com. And then for any more questions, specific questions that you have for Scott, you can reach out to him there. But what I'm also going to do is open the floor here to the questions and answers. And I know I have a lot of questions for Scott. So I will jump in until we see people who are asking those questions here live. And then folks, if there's anything, I know sometimes people can be a little shy. People don't always want to ask the first question. I did see Tony coming in, but if you're not sure what to ask, just feel free to stay on and listen, and we can certainly get that answered for you. All right, so Scott, I'm going to just jump right in here if that's okay.
Sure, go for it.
So a question that I get a lot is, so people who are thinking about investing in, like, let's say the Platinum Point lot now through their self-directed IRA, but in 10 years from now, or however many years from now, they would actually consider relocating there, right? Building a home and relocating at the time that they've reached the age that they can be pulling from their IRA. Is it possible for them to essentially buy the property from their IRA, or how does that look?
Yeah, great question, Rachel. So to answer the direct question, you are not permitted to buy the property from the IRA, because that would involve as we talked about, a transaction between your IRA and a disqualified person, which is you. However, let's say you buy the property now, like this is an investment. You're really not sure what you're going to do with it. And in 10, 15 years, you decide, I think I might like to live in it and use it. Then it is permissible to take the property out of the IRA as a distribution. So a lot of people are familiar with distributions from IRAs taking out cash. You instead could take out the property and actually deed the property from the IRA to you personally. And you would then pay taxes based on the value of the property at that time. So it'd just be like taking out cash, but you're taking out the property. So you're able to almost get the property secured now, and then if you're not sure what you want to do with it in the future, that might be an option for you. Sure, you're not allowed to buy it, but you can certainly take it as a distribution.
Okay, got it. Yeah, that helps. And I know that you did highlight this, but I do want for you to say it again because it's important for people to understand. If they're buying rental property through their self-directed IRA, can they use it personally as a vacation? And I know the answer to this, but I want you to reiterate because it's very important.
Yeah, the answer is no, you cannot. The IRS considers that a prohibited transaction. One thing to note, because a lot of times somebody asks that question and then follows it up with, how would the IRS ever know? And that's a good question that I don't know the answer to, because I don't know that they're sending people to look at all these properties to see who's living there. However, if you do that and you engage in what they call a prohibited transaction, the penalties are very severe. Your IRA becomes immediately taxable to you. There can be penalties and whatnot involved. So it's a pretty stiff penalty that they put in place for doing that. So yeah, again, not that they're looking through windows to see if you're actually there or not, but that is if they find out that you have been, you essentially could lose your IRA and potentially lose the property.
Yeah, that's great. I wanted you to just make sure that it was clear, because some people are like, we'll just come down for a week and use the property that our IRA is owned in, and it's a big no-no. Who knows? Your neighbor could be someone working with the IRS, so you don't want to get caught.
Make friends with neighbors, because there would be nothing prohibited for you making friends with a neighbor and then you going and staying at their property.
Very good idea. That's a good call there, Scott. All right. Another question I see here is from Dan, and he says, if we already own land, we can use the self-directed IRA to build as long as it is for rental use, then take out the property down the road as distribution to use ourselves?
So a lot of moving parts in that short question there. So I have seen clients who owned land personally, and they use cash from their IRA together to build on the structure. I don't know for sure that the IRS would be okay with that. but people who have done that have set up LLCs where, as their personal ownership of the LLC, they contribute the land. For their IRA's ownership in the LLC, they contribute the cash, and then the LLC uses the cash to build on the land. I've had some attorneys say, yes, you can do that. Other people say maybe you'd be better off just sticking away from that. So that's a kind of decision where we do leave up to you as a client and to your advisors. So there might be a way to do that. And then kind of the same thing that Rachel with the first question, if you wanted to then use that property later on down the line, you would have to fully distribute the IRA's ownership out to you personally at whatever the value is at that time, and then you'd be able to potentially use it yourself there going forward. So that is definitely a tricky kind of investment strategy. I've seen it done, but you definitely would want to have some legal advice or somebody helping you through that. And that, unfortunately, we are not allowed to provide that legal service for you. So I'm an attorney by degree, and I know how to set it up and do it, but I can't do it for you, and I can't advise you on it. So, but yeah, definitely put you in touch with an attorney, or have your attorney contact us if that's something you're looking to do.
Perfect. And then I'm seeing anonymous attendee. Feel free to email us, anonymous attendee, too, and we can send you all this in writing. But he or she was saying, what exactly are you offering on seller financing? So for seller financing for this is for phase 1 lots only. It is 50% down, 5-year term, 5% interest. That's probably the lowest interest that I've seen here on the island. So very attractive. But after this first phase, then those financing rates will go up. So good question there. Jane is saying, does the distribution of a property from the IRA require payment of the Belize transfer tax? And I'm going to go with yes, because if you have the property titled in the name of an LLC, and you mentioned it, Scott, in some countries you do need to have an LLC be the owner of the property, right? Your IRA owns the LLC, and that LLC is the owner of the property. Here in Belize, that is exactly how it's done. So the property would be titled in the name of the LLC, and it can be a local company, it can be a Nevada company, it really doesn't matter, but it would be titled in the name of the LLC. And then if you do the distribution and title it to your own name, yes, there would be a Belize transfer tax on that.
Question for you quick on Rachel, following up on that. If somebody owned a property, let's say it was the IRA owned the LLC and the LLC owned the property, they could distribute the LLC ownership to themselves personally, or they would then personally own the LLC, and then they'd have the ability to use the property. Would that avoid the transfer tax? Not that I'm trying to tell tax avoidance strategies here, but
The way to mitigate is always helpful. So
that might be a way. I don't know if that's how Belize would view that, but yes.
Historically, yes, but Belize has recently changed its laws where if there's a share transfer, then like a share transfer, let's say I own the property and I'm selling the entire company and all the shares over to Sarah, Belize still sees that as a title transfer, even though it's still the same company that owns, and they still tax on that now. I mean, last week that wasn't the case, but this is a very new change. So yes,
they closed the loophole. Yes.
Yeah, they did close that loophole, unfortunately, because it saved a lot of people a lot of money, but they got smart. All right. Carrie and John, oh, hello guys. So they're saying, can I use my IRA for a portion of the home or land purchase? And you alluded to this, but I'll let you answer it again.
Yeah, you can use your IRA in combination with, say, personal funds and, say, own the property as a partnership or a tenant in common type relationship. When you do that, you share the expenses and you share the income from that asset between yourself and your IRA, and according to whatever percentage the breakout is. So if you own, say, 60% IRA, 40% personally, then 60% of all expenses are paid by the IRA, and the IRA receives 60% of the income. So that is a strategy. I will note, though, you do have to set that up in advance, like from the outset. You can't say buy the property personally and then say, oh, I'd like my IRA now to own a percentage. That would happen after that closing. That would be prohibited. But if you do it in advance with your IRA and you as partners from the outset, that is possible to do.
And so just to confirm, Scott, that is still, if you do it that way, you are still not able to personally use the property because you're still disqualified member, correct?
That is correct, yes.
Okay, perfect. Oh, this is a great question here from Cal. He's saying, is there much to do on your vacation on the island? Can you talk about some of the fun things to do? Oh, we can certainly do that. Let me go back to the maps over here. So Belize is, as we talked about, the size of Massachusetts, but And it parallels the barrier reef, which is the longest living reef in the world, parallels Ambergris Caye specifically. I'm going to go back to my maps here, parallels Ambergris Caye specifically, where you can see this white dotted line. So this island has been an absolute mecca for divers and fishermen and snorkelers. So if you enjoy any sort of water activities, then this is an incredible spot for you. The water is the Caribbean blue. It is 83 degrees year round. So if you just like to hop in the water and have a cocktail in your hands and float around, you can do that. If you want to be a little bit more active and do some deep sea fishing, you can do that. I know some of the favorite trips from people who come is taking boat trips, doing some light fishing, and then you can go onto what we call the real secret beaches of the island, which is not secret beaches, the real secret beaches that isn't super popular. And you know, the areas up on the west side of the islands, and you can cook your fish, and it's just very, very memorable. And then in addition to that, if you're somebody who wants to spend more time here, there's a lot to do from the perspective of the lifestyle. There's a very big expat population here. It's actually the part of the country that has the biggest expat population, lots of fundraisers, volunteer opportunities. If you like cribbage, you know, there's cribbage and different darts, different tournaments that you can go to on a regular basis. So it's a great island. Even if you're not necessarily a water bug, there's still quite a bit to do. I honestly don't remember the last time I got into the waters, but you know, we look at it and it's absolutely beautiful. So great question, Cal. Lots to do. Sarah, what is your favorite thing to do when you're here?
Well, I would say having a drink in the crystal turquoise blue water, relaxing and having fun. That's actually my favorite. It is a blast. And really, the really cool thing about Belize is that Belize is such a diverse country. So, you know, when they say Caye is an island that I've learned, and there's like 400 keys in Belize. So you have all of these different islands that make up Belize. Ambergris Caye is, of course, the top tourist island, and that's where all of these fun water activities and beach activities are. But don't forget, we also have the mainland Belize, which is just a 10, 15, not even a 15-minute little plane ride over, and you have the jungles, and you have the underground cave tubing, and you have the Mayan ruins, and you have all the tropical stuff. I mean, so there's such a diverse activity list of things to do in Belize when you're on vacation that you could spend a whole week here and just pack it in. So I would encourage anybody that has not been to Belize to make a vacation of it and go check it out.
Oh, absolutely. You got to come down and see it. We're trying to get Scott to come down next, guys. So
Yeah,
a good reason
I'm
to do
sold.
due diligence for you.
I am sold. That sounds fantastic.
Rachel, there's another couple of questions.
Yes, I see one here from Edwin. He says, what percentage of Ambergris Caye is actually developed? And what is the development forecast for the next 5 to 10 years? Awesome. Great question, Edwin. So the island is about 26 miles long and about 1 mile wide at its widest point. And I'm going to go to another map. You know, I just apologize because it's not really super big, but I'm going to use my little pen here. So this is the island Ambergris Caye. Oops, apologies. Let me just get this. Sorry, guys. Give me a quick second. All right. So this is the island Ambergris Caye, 26 miles long, 1 mile wide at its widest point. The island, in my best guesstimate, is only about 20% developed, and that's of this little portion right over here. We refer to the island sometimes, Ambergris Caye, as San Pedro, even though San Pedro is the primary town on the island, lots of little neighborhoods and resorts north and south. But you can see that the primary town is really close to the south side. So we have about 20 miles north till you get to the top of the island, and about 5 to 6 miles south of San Pedro town, with San Pedro here. So there are properties and whatnot on the southern part of the island, but we're seeing that path of progress is really happening in a northward direction because that's where a majority of the land, the undeveloped land, is. And so I'd say the development forecast for the next 5 to 10 years, you know, I can't tell you exactly what it's going to be. I don't have a crystal ball, but I can tell you between my colleagues and myself, we just talk about it is going to be a completely different island. The island in Belize generally is just starting to be known by the general public, right? You know, for a long time, Belize Ambergris Caye was well known since the 70s, I would say, by the niche markets, the fishermen, the scuba divers, the snorkelers, people who are really avid in that field. But now over the last, I'd say 10, 12 years, Belize Tourism Board has put a lot more money into marketing the country so that it's not overshadowed by places like Mexico and Costa Rica and Panama, and really has its own identity. So since we're seeing more of the direct flights come down, we're going to be seeing more people here, more interest here. There's not really a big supply right now, so I imagine that is going to be increasing the demand, driving prices up. And as I mentioned to you earlier as well, I'm going to go back over here. There are 3 upcoming developments, luxury, like high-end developments in this area. This is the Ambergris Lagoon over here. This is the Ambergris Lagoon, and there are 3 new developments that are coming up in this area that are, luxury high-end. We just don't really have many of that now because a lot of what's developed on the island is in the San Pedro area where there's just not much space. So I can't give you more, too much more than that, Edwin, but I can tell you that for many of us who are in the real estate space, it's looking very positive, and to see that there is more planned communities, more planning going on for the northern side of the island is really great. And then also Dan says, to clarify, we can buy undeveloped land and just hold it in the IRA and sell it down the road if we choose to, correct? Yes. Oh yeah, that's exactly right. And that's what a lot of folks like to do, is that whole land banking concept. So you purchase the land now through your IRA, keep it in the IRA. And land banking, I'd say, is probably one of the most popular things to do in your IRA, because here in Belize, property taxes are just minimal. Mentioned to you about $100 US for the property. That's per year, not on a monthly basis. That's per year, $100 US per year. So it's very little ongoing cost that you have in order to maintain it. And then whenever the time is right for you, then you can sell it. I'd say if you're able to hold on to properties for at least 2 to 3 years, if not longer, of course, the longer you hold on to it, the more that it'll appreciate. But, if you're able to hold on for the next couple of years, you'll already start to see appreciation thereafter. All right, I see Carrie and John. Awesome. Thank you so much for joining us here. And I see a lot of, most of the questions, if not all of them, I think at this point have been answered. And I know we promised you guys it'd be about 45 minutes to an hour, and we're just about at that hour mark here. So what we'll do is feel free to reach out if we didn't answer your question or you think of something else afterwards. Let me go back here. So you have our email addresses, contact information. Scott's information is there. Our information is there as well. Feel free to send us an email, and our teams will be sure to get back to you. And before we close up here, Sarah, Scott, anything you would like to add to the presentation or to the folks who are tuning in?
Yeah, actually, my final thought, I always forget to mention this just for some reason, but self-direction is not an all or nothing strategy. So if you have an account with Fidelity, Schwab, wherever, and you have a large nest egg built up and you're like, I don't want to use all of that to invest in real estate, just a portion, you can certainly move over just what you wanted to do. That, like I said, that sometimes it kind of gets lost. I don't say it specifically, but you can use just whatever amount you feel comfortable with and move money back and forth. So it's a very easy and fluid strategy to use.
Perfect. Sarah, any last?
Yeah, no, I think you guys have covered it. There's really nothing else to add, but except thank you. Yeah, and again, if I could just reiterate just the opportunity in Belize, again, my husband and I, we personally invest and buy rental properties and apartment buildings and land, and we do all kinds of other development work and other projects. And so again, the opportunities in Belize are just tremendous, and it's just something that we're really excited about. And I would encourage you all to look into it and reach out to Rachel and Scott if you have any questions. Scott, I gotta say, he takes great care of our clients. I've referred many clients over to Scott, and I have to say, Scott, you're always on it. You're always so helpful, and you've really taken care of our clients. So I would encourage you guys, if you have questions, to go to Scott. And then I would encourage you, if you have property questions about Belize, Rachel's your girl. So you go to her for any questions on that. So thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Sarah.
Everyone. And thank you all for
Thank you.
in. And I'm going to guess many of you are going to listen to this afterwards on YouTube. Those will be the great email addresses for you to reach out to us on. And in the meantime, we hope to see you in Belize sometime soon. Bye, everyone.
Bye now.
Goodbye.